Hey guys, what is up? What is going on? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing a hypothetical 2024 matchup between Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a progressive congresswoman from New York, and Donald Trump. So this is a re-upload. I know that there was an issue with the other video where the sound went out, and I think I've deciphered the issue. Either A, my screen recorder was being glitchy, which it sometimes is, but I think more likely is that I was at fault and accidentally unplugged my microphone cord from my adapter. So yeah, either way though, let's get started. I don't want to waste a ton of your time. Some of you might have already seen the outcome, but hopefully you still show up to the premiere. Thank you if you do, and for those of you who haven't seen it, because I just made the video on private, yeah, so welcome back to another video. Normal video. So these are going to be the safe states for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Illinois will still be safe. I don't see, Trump being able to appeal enough to these downstate voters to make it likely. I don't think that Connecticut, Rhode Island would be safe necessarily, though. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, if I'm correct, she gets Colorado. She starts with 179 safe electoral votes. Now, what about Donald Trump? Well, he gets a number of safe electoral votes in this scenario. I actually do think that he'd probably, I believe he'd win Iowa safe. Against Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And again, Iowa is a populous state, and I think AOC isn't. I don't think that she's really going to campaign there. It's 6 electoral votes. She doesn't really need it. Her pathway lies in the Rust Belt, not trying to win Iowa and South Carolina. So, yeah, obviously, Iowa is kind of a swing state, not really anymore, though. And at this point, I'm ready to say it's a safe Republican state or likely Republican state. Either one of those works for me, but I think Trump's going to win it safe. Against AOC, he'd probably win by 12 or 13, just because you have a lot of white voters here, and AOC isn't as appealing to them as a Bernie Sanders type candidate would be. So yeah, Iowa, solid Trump. Now moving over to the likely AOC, and also he won Alaska safe. He won it. I think he almost won it safe 2020. He'd win Alaska safe. So likely Ocasio-Cortez states she'd probably win New Mexico by the same margin Biden won it by, maybe a little more. Just because, the Hispanic vote would probably be better for her, but she'd do horribly in the suburbs compared to Biden, so kind of averages itself out. She'd still win Connecticut and Rhode Island pretty easily, or rather Connecticut and Rhode Island like that, but I know I didn't click on the right dates at the right time, but she'd win those states pretty easily, but I do think that we'd see Hillary Clinton-type numbers here, not because AOC's like Hillary Clinton, just because AOC doesn't really have great appeals to a lot of these voters. And she'd also win the first district of Maine, by the way, safe. And she'd win the second district. No, she wouldn't. Never mind. So 195 electoral votes for AOC and 121 for Donald Trump. The likely, or the obvious likely state for Donald Trump is South Carolina. He'd win South Carolina by 10. And I say this because I just don't see AOC getting black turnout high enough to make this really a swing state in 2024 and 2028. If the Democrats win the right candidate, they can make it run the right candidate. They could make it a toss-up. But AOC, she has her base, and it's going to turn out for her. But that's really it. And she has a very select group of voters. They're Hispanics in this region, and they're just college-educated progressives on the West Coast in New York. So yeah. So now moving on to the likely Trump states, he'd probably win Florida likely, and I know this is a weird statement because Florida usually isn't likely unless Marco Rubio is involved, but Donald Trump, he's a good candidate for Florida. He's been able to make Florida kind of a red state as opposed to a purple state. So, yeah, and also Florida they either vote Republican or they vote for a moderate Democrat like Obama, or Bill Nelson won there, but I just don't see AOC really come close to win Florida. She might lose it by 9 or 10, to be honest. Here's the Democrats in Florida. 3-step plan. They got to go zigzag like that. So start with Miami-Dade. Biden's got to win Miami-Dade County. So the Democrats have to run up the score there. They have to win by at least 25%. They have to win Pinellas County, which is the big swing county in Tampa Bay. And they have to win Duval County, which is a formerly red-leaning county that Biden won. So, yeah. So that's their 3-step plan. I do think AOC would probably win Pinellas. I think she would probably lose Duval, though. No, actually, she'd probably lose Pinellas because it's a bellwether. But she'd lose these two counties, but she'd be a disaster for Miami-Dade County because yes, she is Hispanic, which could help her, but not really in Florida because a lot of these people are coming from Venezuela, immigrating from Cuba, fleeing communism or failed attempts at communism rather. So yeah, and also I think it's important to remember that Joe Biden, yes, and I get that he didn't really run a good campaign with Hispanics. I think he kind of ignored them, though it's the same way Hillary like ignored the working class. But Biden still only lost it by 3. I get that, but just Florida really does not like even anything close to socialism. And I know someone's going to bring up, well, they would have passed the $15 minimum wage thingy by 60% of the vote. See, my issue with that is that people like progressive ideas, but they don't like the word socialism. Socialism is a turnoff for a lot of people, but they actually like progressive ideas. And by the way, I'm not out here saying that the American electorate is smart. I'm out here saying that they know what they want, and they apparently don't want socialism. So yeah, Florida, Trump likely state. Texas, he'd also win. No, he actually wouldn't win Texas by a likely margin. Scratch that. So yeah, he'd also win Ohio by like 10 or 11%. Same thing as 2020, except he'd win it by a little more because it's trending red, and because AOC is a bad candidate for the state. I mean, for the Democrats to win Ohio, they have to have super high black turnout from Cleveland and just do better with rural voters and with suburban voters. And to be fair, Biden had high black turnout in some areas like the Rust Belt. He did all right in Ohio. He didn't get killed, but he did all right. He also did pretty good in the suburbs, but he just had no appeal. He apparently had no appeal to the rural voters because he got murdered in a lot of those rural counties that just did not seem to want him there, and mostly because he didn't campaign in Ohio. Like he went to either Cincinnati or I think Cleveland. So obviously Ohio is kind of a red-leaning state, and it has been for the past 4 years. But still, I don't see AOC doing any better than Biden did. So yeah. Now let's go down. Oh yeah, to our lean. I had a brain fart there. So these two states, these are the lean blue states of the Southwest. Nevada, I think AOC would do a little better than Biden. No, she'd actually do. Yeah, she'd do a little better because she'd lose support in the suburbs, and she might lose Washoe County. She'd probably lose Washoe County, but she'd be able to hold on to Clark County, maybe even run up the score there with the Hispanic vote. Which Biden, he won Clark County, but he just didn't do it as well with Hispanics as he should have done. So I think AOC would have done better, and I think she would in 2024. She'd do better with the Hispanic vote against Trump in this area, not in Florida, but in Nevada she would. So Nevada goes to AOC. She also carry Arizona, or actually, you know what? Scratch that. And I'm saying that a lot, but I don't think she'd actually win Arizona. Whoops. So spoiler alert: AOC doesn't win Arizona. I actually just classified that because he's just putting Arizona as lean Democratic. Because I've been doing that for like the past several months with Joe Biden, but she'd lose Arizona. She'd have decent turnout from the Hispanics down here, like in Tucson, but she'd lose Maricopa County by 5 to 7% because she'd be horrible in the suburbs. She'd be worse than Hillary Clinton in the suburbs, and Hillary Clinton actually didn't do horribly in the suburbs, but she'd do worse, and she'd just get 10% of the vote in all these rural counties, like I don't know, Coach Heights County, and Graham County. Yeah. So she'd lose. Spoiler alert: she'd lose Arizona. Now going over to the other lean Democratic states, AOC would win Minnesota by 2 or 3%. Do a little better than Hillary Clinton because she says she's a populist. I don't think people buy that, but whatever. Minnesota is a left-wing populist state, so she'd carry Minnesota, I think, but it would be closer than Biden did. So yeah, she'd also win Virginia by a lean margin. She'd win it by 5 or 6, so just likely a lean, but I'll go with lean. And I think that she'd win Virginia by a lean margin because, not likely, and she'd win it by a likely margin because Virginia is suburban. The Democrats do well in the Nova suburbs. They have been doing that for a while. That's how they win Virginia. That's how Biden won there by over 10%, which is huge for a Democrat to do. But I think we'd see a Hillary Clinton-type victory for AOC in Virginia. I mean, Clinton only won it by 3, so she'd win it by a little more because the state's trending blue. But still, I just don't see AOC being able to run up the score in the suburbs like Democrats have been doing for the past decade. in the state, and she'd also do worse in the rural areas, obviously, as I mentioned. And she might improve on Biden's numbers a little bit in Fairfax County alone, but still, I just don't think, especially with like Virginia not being a super Hispanic state, is certainly going to help her. So Virginia, lean blue. Maine at large vote. Clinton won it by like 3, and I think AOC won it by the same amount as her, just because Maine is pretty moderate. Like, they voted for Joe Biden by 8%, but they reelected Susan Collins by 8%. So, yeah, Maine, they're not afraid to split their ticket. They're not afraid to branch out, even though it's a blue state. Doesn't mean that they vote for Republicans. So, yeah, but AOC would win Maine at large by 3 or 4. Now going over to our Trump states, we got, I want to put Texas in the lean column, and I want Pennsylvania in the lean column. So Donald Trump moving very quickly to 250 electoral votes. And I think that, by the way, he'd also win Maine, second issue by a safe margin. And you know what? I was going to put in the tilt column. We'll give New Hampshire to lean to AOC just because of Bernie Sanders being able to campaign there for her. And the fact that Biden had such a strong performance there, even though I didn't expect that or didn't see that coming. So, yeah. And I think AOC would probably win or lose Texas by 3 or 4 or 5, actually. Yes, the Hispanic vote, it would be good for her here. But, I mean, honestly, just the suburban vote would be horrible. I don't think she'd have as high enough turnout from Tarrant County and from Houston, San Antonio to win the state of Texas. So she'd lose it. But it's trending blue, so she'd improve on Biden's numbers a little bit. Now, also, I'll give Nebraska 2nd District tilt to AOC. She win it just because of Biden winning it and because of the fact that the district is trending blue. And I get the Kerry Eastman loss, which is why I'm skeptical, but still, we'll put it in the tilt Democratic column. So it'll come down to these, to the Rust Belt, and also Pennsylvania's going to be lean Republican because of AOC's Green New Deal and fracking stance, which wouldn't actually hurt coal miners as much as they think. But again, I'm not saying that American people are educated or smart for that matter. So yeah, now let's see how can we make this as suspenseful as possible. So we're just going to start. Actually, screw it. Trump's going to win. Because for some reason I thought that I was going to give Georgia to AOC. So I was going to say, Trump didn't win Wisconsin, but she's going to win Georgia. But whatever, Trump's going to win all these states, and he's going to win North Carolina by a lean margin because of the suburbs being against AOC, as I mentioned, which I'm saying a lot. Just because Biden lost it by 1.4, AOC would lose it by 2, just because the black vote wouldn't actually come out for her. So yeah, actually she might lose it by 3. So now, Wisconsin, Michigan, I say would go red because of AOC's Green New Deal stance, which actually wouldn't hurt the auto industry in Michigan too much. But I just think that Trump winning here and him being a populist would really help him resurrect his 2016 win in these 2 states. So I think he'd win both these states by 2016-esque margins. Georgia, he'd also hold on to, and I get that the state is trending blue and Biden won it, which is great for him. But I mean, really, the black vote, I just don't see it coming out for AOC the way that it did for Biden, and I just don't see. Georgia, the suburbs were what really helped Biden there, the suburbs of Atlanta. Yet, AOC probably can't replicate that. So, again, I'm kind of in a rush here because I want to post this as soon as I can. What time is it? So we're going to premiere this at 7 my time. So, again, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Share it with your friends and your amazing followers on Twitter, and we'll see you all in the next one. Bye.